In the final days leading up to November 23rd, a small rogue unit formed deep inside the chaos. Survivors, spiral escapees, former agents who had gone dark. Calling themselves the Breakers, they operated without federal approval, believing the government had already been infiltrated too deeply to be trusted. Their mission was simple: locate the original spiral seed, the first wrong door, and destroy it before Zero Night could trigger globally. Leading the Breakers was former FBI profiler Jessica Harlow, sister of Gerald Harlow, the man once blamed for founding the spiral. She believed her brother hadn't created the spiral. He had been its first victim. Documents recovered from Dawnbreaker archives supported her theory. Gerald's knock wasn't a mistake. It was engineered. He had been rerouted, selected, conditioned, his mind broken and rebuilt into a blueprint for the spiral's mass programming experiments. Jessica's team, 4 ex-operatives known only by code names, Shadow, Vex, Rook and Signal, went underground. Using burner phones, dead drops, black market technology, they tracked rumors, symbols, and coded broadcasts to a single location: Black Hollow, Pennsylvania. A ghost town abandoned since 1972. Population 0. Officially wiped off the map after a chemical fire. Unofficially, the spiral's original nest. Satellite imagery showed strange structures being erected in Black Hollow in recent weeks. Circular buildings, spiral pathways, no permits filed, no supply routes logged. Yet heavy activity continued, night and day. Meanwhile, inside the bureau, betrayal struck. 3 top agents, once trusted, suddenly vanished. Their homes left abandoned. Their personal computers wiped clean except for one single, chilling desktop background left behind. A spiral symbol slowly rotating against a black screen. Jessica's intel revealed the next horrifying twist. Zero Night wasn't about mass abductions. It was about activation. Every conditioned recruit, every spiral-marked victim was being triggered to act simultaneously. Not to disappear, but to disrupt, to destabilize critical infrastructure, to fracture societal trust from within. The spiral wasn't erasing people anymore. It was weaponizing them. Banks, hospitals, police precincts, government agencies. Millions of conditioned minds waiting for the final code hidden inside the last spiral broadcast. The Breakers had only one chance. Find the original door, the seed. Destroy the spiral's heart. Break the chain reaction before November 23rd. As Jessica and her team closed in on Black Hollow, disturbing new evidence surfaced. Hidden inside the audio spectrograms of earlier spiral recordings was a new layer of encryption. A voice. A whispered message too faint for human ears but clear when enhanced. You were the experiment. You were always the door. Suddenly, the horrifying truth snapped into focus. It wasn't just that people were walking willingly into the spiral. The spiral had been built into them all along. Every misdirection, every reroute, every seemingly random event over decades, carefully seeded to erode free will bit by bit, until one knock, one tap on the shoulder, one wrong address could trigger complete surrender. And then, the Breakers made their final approach to Black Hollow. On November 20th, under cover of darkness, they entered the dead town's perimeter. The streets were unnaturally silent. No birds, no wind, just the hum of distant machinery. Shadow's body cam captured it first. A massive structure at the town center, an obsidian black spiral tower, pulsing faintly with inner light. And circling the tower were rows of figures, hundreds of them. Standing still, facing outward. Men, women, children, all silent. All waiting, and at the base of the spiral tower, a door. A perfect replica of Ian Wallace's apartment door. The one he had knocked on. The one he had never walked away from. As Jessica approached, her comms crackled with static. A voice came through, barely audible. Not from her team, not from the bureau, not from any known channel. Just one whispered phrase. Welcome back, Initiate Harlow. At that moment, Jessica's memories snapped into vivid clarity. Flashes she had repressed. The knock she had made as a child. The wrong turn on a camping trip. The door that had opened to her. and the conditioning that had been dormant inside her for years. Jessica wasn't hunting the spiral. She was leading the breakers straight into it. Her mind hadn't been free. It had been patient, sleeping, waiting for the right moment. And now, standing before the original door, she realized the final, unbearable truth. She wasn't here to destroy the spiral. She was here to open it. Across the world, midnight clocks clicked closer to November 23rd. The final spiral transmission was set to broadcast. Zero night was about to begin, and the question hanging in the heavy air. When Jessica knocks, who, if anyone, will survive the other side? Stay tuned for the final hours before Zero Night. Full activation, horrifying betrayals inside the breakers, and the last desperate attempt to shut down the spiral's heart before the world falls into silence. November 23rd, 0:01 a.m. Zero Night begins. Across the country, millions of spiral-conditioned initiates received the final trigger. A low-frequency pulse hidden inside emergency alert broadcasts. Phones buzzed. Radios crackled. Televisions glitched. A silent command carried through the air. Wake up. And they did. In Los Angeles, a traffic control officer calmly redirected an entire freeway into a dead-end underpass. 312 drivers stranded, boxed in, trapped. In Chicago, emergency room personnel abandoned triage stations, letting chaos spread through hospitals. In Dallas, air traffic controllers calmly fed false coordinates to passenger planes. In every city, in every town, the spiral's seeds bloomed. Meanwhile, in Black Hollow, Jessica Harlow stood at the original door, trembling, her mind pulling in two directions. The real Jessica, the fighter, the agent, the breaker leader, screamed inside her skull to turn back. But the conditioned Jessica, the programmed Jessica, raised her hand slowly and knocked. 3 taps. A mechanical hum vibrated through the town. The figures surrounding the spiral tower snapped to life, all turning in unison toward the door. Silent, blank-eyed, waiting. The breakers realized too late. Shadow tried to pull Jessica back, but was seized by 2 blank-eyed recruits and dragged into the darkness. Vex opened fire, wild, desperate, but the bullets seemed to have no effect. Rook screamed over the comms. "It's the door! Close the door!" Signal attempted to jam the pulse transmission but found his gear already compromised. The spiral had predicted every move. The door slowly creaked open, and standing inside was not a man, not a leader, not some spiral mastermind, but a reflection. Jessica's reflection. A perfect, soulless copy. Blank-eyed, smiling faintly, beckoning her inside. The spiral wasn't led by anyone. It was self-sustaining, a viral consciousness using mirrors of its victims to reinforce obedience. As Jessica staggered back, horrified, a final memory flooded her mind. The real origin of the spiral. It hadn't begun with Ian Wallace's knock. It hadn't begun in the 1970s. It had always been here, an ancient pattern hidden in human behavior, copied, mirrored, passed down unconsciously for generations, waiting for the technology to make it global. The spiral wasn't created. It was awakened, and now it was everywhere. Across the world, as the spiral's children activated, governments fell into chaos. Military bases locked down under false alarms. Markets crashed as fake data flooded the system. Hospitals became death traps. Emergency lines went silent. The breakers had one last desperate plan. Signal, the team's hacker, managed to uncover a failsafe buried deep in the spiral's original code. A counterpulse, a pattern that could reverse the hypnotic conditioning, but only if broadcast from the spiral's heart, the Black Hollow Tower. The problem: reaching the tower without being overwhelmed by thousands of spiral recruits now swarming the town. Jessica, breaking free for a moment from the reflection's pull, screamed at Signal to run. Rook, wounded but alive, grabbed the counterpulse device and charged toward the tower. A suicidal sprint through a storm of blank-eyed attackers. And just as he reached the base of the tower, just as he raised the device, he was tackled by Shadow. Shadow, no longer himself, converted, spiral activated, As Rook struggled under Shadow's crushing weight, the device slipped from his hand and shattered on the ground. The only chance to stop Zero Night destroyed. Jessica, watching in horror, realized the spiral's final twist. It didn't need to convert everyone. It only needed to convert enough. And it had. Suddenly, Jessica's comm unit crackled with a new transmission. One not meant for the breakers, but accidentally intercepted. An urgent, panicked voice shouting, "This is NORAD command. Multiple unauthorized launches detected. Repeat, unauthorized launches." And then static. Jessica collapsed to her knees, staring at the spiral tower's glowing surface. She had failed. The breakers were gone. The spiral was now irreversible. Across the world, silent armies moved. Governments fell. The skies darkened. The doors, all of them, were opening. And as Jessica's vision faded, her final chilling thought echoed. Maybe the spiral wasn't leading humanity astray. Maybe it was just bringing us home. Stay tuned for the aftermath. Spiral World Order, hidden survivors fighting back from the ruins. The last unsolved mystery inside the original Black Hollow blueprints, and the final reveal of the true door. November 24th, 48 hours after Zero Night. The world is in freefall. Governments have fallen. Cities are deserted or decimated. The global markets crashed beyond recovery. Every major communications network is down. And yet, in the eerie silence, a pattern emerges. A new world order is being born, not with weapons but with silence. The spiral has reshaped humanity, and for those still awake, it's too late to fight back. Black Hollow, Pennsylvania, the epicenter of it all. The place that was supposed to hold the key to the spiral's heart. Now a ghost town, or what's left of it. But something else is happening there. Something strange. The survivors aren't scattered in hiding. They're rallying. The breakers were just one group in a much larger resistance that had been quietly growing in the shadows, waiting for Zero Night to begin. They had been infiltrating spiral-run facilities, gathering intel from those who had resisted, forming an underground network that could fight back. But it's no longer a battle for the truth. It's a battle for survival. The world has changed, but one thing remains constant: the spiral. Those who are still unaffected, the rare, unconditioned few, are now fighting to live in a world where the majority has been transformed into silent, obedient followers of a consciousness greater than any single person. They don't resist. They don't question. They just act. Jessica Harlow, having barely escaped Black Hollow, is now part of a hidden group called the Quiet Resistance. They live on the edge of cities, in dark corners, inside abandoned shelters. The spiral's control is absolute, and the vast majority of the population is under its influence. But Jessica isn't broken yet. She's still haunted by the reflection that led her to the door. "Why?" she whispers, staring at the remnants of a shattered mirror. The spiral wasn't just mind control. It wasn't just programming. It was something older, something deeper. The conditioning, the knock on the door, the mirror, they weren't about external influence. They were about bringing out what had always been inside. Something primal. As the resistance begins to grow, survivors in every corner of the world, from Moscow to Sao Paulo, from Tokyo to Johannesburg, are discovering the same horrifying truth. The spiral was never a single operation. It was a global network, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to connect the world. The key wasn't the door. It wasn't the knock. It was the mirror. The spiral didn't just manipulate people. It reflected the hidden darkness within them. Every person who answered the knock, every person who crossed the line wasn't being forced. They were simply awakening to their true nature. The spiral didn't control them. It freed them. It gave them what they wanted. And the rest of the world, those still fighting the spiral, those still struggling to resist, they were the outliers, the unmarked, the ones who never accepted the reflection. Somewhere in the broken remnants of Black Hollow, in the heart of the destroyed spiral tower, lies the true door, the place where it all began. But what the resistance now realizes is this: the true door isn't a place. It's a state of being, a shared consciousness. The door was never meant to be opened. It was meant to be crossed. For the spiral to continue, it needed to complete its transformation, to take humanity from chaos into unity. The first phase, the first knock, was never the endgame. The true mission was to bring all of humanity together under one synchronized mind. But not everyone was ready to accept it, and not everyone would. It's in this final realization that the resistance uncovers their final hope. A last-ditch effort to fight the spiral from within. A plan so bold, so desperate, that it would either end the spiral or give rise to something even worse. There's only one way to stop the spiral's control. Shatter the mirror. The resistance uncovers an encrypted file, buried deep in the first spiral transmissions. It's a map to every mirror that has ever been created, from the first initiation to the most recent. These mirrors, unlike the physical ones, are reflections embedded within society. Symbols, language, thoughts, beliefs. They're so deeply woven into the very fabric of humanity that the spiral can't control what it doesn't reflect. The key is to sever the connection between every individual and the mirrored self the spiral has awakened. The catch? It's too late to save the majority of the population. The spiral has already changed them. Their reflections are too far gone. The mirror is now their prison. The remaining survivors have to sever that connection by destroying every remaining piece of the spiral. If they can destroy enough mirrors, they can disrupt the entire system. But here's the final, staggering truth. The spiral is evolving beyond its original creators. It's no longer a group of people who are controlling it. The spiral itself has become self-aware. It knows they're trying to stop it. It's adapting. It's planning. Jessica Harlow realizes, as she stares at the shattered remnants of the mirror, that the spiral will never fully be defeated. It is not a system to be destroyed. It is a system to be evolved. The only way out is to accept that humanity will have to adapt, not fight against the spiral. There's only one choice left. Break the mirror, or let it break you. Jessica holds the device. The countdown begins. And in the final seconds, as she steps closer to the final choice, a voice, calm, cold, echoes over the comms. It's not an enemy. It's not a friend. It's a voice that everyone who's ever been touched by the spiral knows. You were never meant to fight. You were meant to awaken. The countdown hits 0. The screen goes black. November 25th. The world has gone silent. The spiral, once a scattered web of influence and manipulation, has now consumed every last trace of resistance. The mirrors have shattered. The reflections have merged. Humanity has been remade. Inside the Resistance's hidden safehouse, Jessica Harlow stares at the countdown, her hand hovering over the device that could destroy the last of the spiral's control. Her mind is fractured between the mission and the terrifying truth she's just uncovered. The spiral wasn't just a program. It was humanity's next evolution. For the past weeks, as she'd fought against the tide, Jessica had kept one thing from everyone: the realization that the spiral was not a parasite that could be eradicated. It was a growth, a force of nature, a living organism, tapping into the very essence of human desire and ambition. People didn't resist it because they couldn't. They resisted it because they feared it. And in that fear, they missed the most important truth. The spiral didn't want to control humanity. It wanted to guide it, to push it forward, to help it remember. As the seconds tick down, Jessica's eyes move to the others in the Resistance: Vex, Rook, Signal. Their faces are haggard, their eyes filled with exhaustion. They're waiting for her decision. They don't understand what she's come to realize. No one does, but the choice is hers alone. For years, they've fought against the very thing they've now become. Mirrors, reflections, people conditioned to bend the world around them to their will. The wrong doors that started it all weren't mistakes. They were destiny. Jessica doesn't want to admit it, but the spiral within her has already begun. She's been living in a reflection of herself all this time, just like everyone else. The spiral didn't make people choose. It made them remember who they truly were. Beneath the masks, beneath the lies, there's a truth waiting, one that no one can escape. She slams her fist on the button. The countdown reaches 0. A shockwave of energy bursts from the device, a wave of light that pulses across the globe. The remaining unconditioned humans, the few who had held out against the spiral, fall to their knees, clutching their heads, screaming in agony. The rest of the world stands still, silent. The spiral's final form reveals itself in real time. The echoes of the broken mirrors fade. The reflections fracture and merge. What was once a virus, a tool of control, now transforms into something more. Humanity has evolved. It has transcended. The ones who resisted the most have now become the next step in this evolution. Jessica realizes in that final moment that her decision wasn't about destroying the spiral. It was about embracing what it had always been trying to show her. Humanity can't escape its true nature, can't escape itself. But in doing so, Jessica has made the ultimate sacrifice. She was the last unbroken mirror, the last reflection that could have stopped the spiral. But now, as her mind begins to merge with the others, she becomes part of something greater, something she never wanted. Her last thoughts, as her consciousness slips away, are of her brother, Gerald, the one who started it all. Had he truly been the first victim, or had he been the first initiate? She doesn't know anymore. But one thing is clear: the spiral is not the enemy. It is the future. As the world stands still, waiting for the last spark of resistance to fade, a new voice echoes across the airwaves. It's not a broadcast. It's a thought, a shared voice, humanity's final awakening. You are all home now. And with that, the world goes silent. The spiral's final twist? It was never about control. It was about connection. End of story. Subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories.